Alright guys, here we're talking about The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 2. And we see Morgan. By which I mean Jeffrey Dean Morgan, or whatever his real name is.
Good save. Negan finally
yes,
at the end. So, like, the bookends of this episode are Rick talking to Negan. And you don't know it's Negan in the beginning, but it's obviously Negan.
It could not be anybody else.
And then it ends with it being Negan.
Yeah. So. I spent, so the episode ended, I spent up until maybe, let's say, 20 hours trying to think of Aaron's name.
Yep, me too.
I was like, what the hell is his name? It's a name that's just real simple. Oh God, and I just couldn't place it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been calling him Aiden for a long time, and I also Googled it because
I didn't Google it. It came to me.
I also wanted to know. Well, Aiden was the name of one of what's her name's sons at Alexandria.
Okay.
So the name Aiden didn't come out of nowhere.
I was showering just before meeting you, and I was like Aaron, and
like,
just.
Aaron. So, like, this will help me remember it now, but my device was going to be, I have to, in my head, call him Aaron, just to make that stand out as, like, because now, apparently, he's a big deal. So, things are happening.
Yeah, let's just jump into his arc, then.
Let's just jump around.
So Aaron loses an arm in this episode,
shit.
and that's almost realer than killing him. Because if you would have killed him, he's dead, and I wouldn't really think about it. But now, you know, you had a nice long scene where you get to see his like shredded arm when a log crushes it.
It's amazing.
And how are they even lifting? How many guys do you think it took to lift those logs in the first place? Because those were like legit ass logs.
Yeah.
And all that work went away when Rick cuts or shoots the rope holding them.
We can just go through, and I can just say I liked this, I liked this, I liked this.
Sure.
But that was good. I like that they have like an Operation Deforesting to get the lumber. I like that there's this fucking accident because someone's like a dipshit and drops the thing.
Yeah, you get a lot of people in the position that can hurt you in the post-apocalypse, and you're trusting so many people that used to be your enemies. I don't think I would ever do that.
Probably not, and you could have easily maybe not structured things that way in several ways. I don't know. We'll get into that in a moment.
And I understand why you can't do that. Like keep it so it's just them with them, because then the ability to not hear if something's coming or like you need to be watching these people. And I don't know that they would work very hard if they weren't being supervised. So it makes sense to split everyone up so the power is split up. And if ever there was a rebellion, it's like okay, you're 1-to-1 with another group.
But here's the thing, and this is my major issue with the episode, which I guess we're going to talk about right now. Meathead is what I called him.
The guy that Daryl gets into it with.
Yeah, and starts the riot, and then whatever, and then gets banished by Rick at the end, right?
Yeah.
Why was that guy in charge of Siren number 2? Why would you, like, number 1, shouldn't he be working on the bridge? That's why you're tolerating his shenanigans and starting a riot. And the way the episode is structured, it seems like he started a riot that morning, and then that afternoon
is in charge of a vital piece of whatever.
Like this vital redirecting the herd task or whatever the hell, right? And meanwhile...
Yeah, you have 2 sirens, one being held by one of your most trustworthy people.
Jerry!
And then one by random douche number 6.
The guy from the Highlander TV show guy. Like, so dumb. And like that made me laugh out loud. I'm like, what? Why? And then in my head, I'm like, okay, this is compression. You wrote a bunch of stuff, and you're like, okay, fuck, Andrew Lincoln's leaving. We have to compress the plots down. Just have the same guy that did this do that. We don't have time to make them different characters or whatever. That's my only theory that could possibly make sense. Because why would you sit there as a writer and say, yeah, no, so later that day that guy should also be doing this? And like, not even because you don't trust him. He's so important. He's so strong and can work so hard. So let's send him off somewhere to like crank a siren or do whatever he has to do. That's
like
so
you
dumb
could
to
frame
me.
that as like he could defend himself alone doing this position.
Suppose, yeah.
Because I did think, like, Jerry's just, like, all alone, turning a siren that people are going to come right for him while wearing ear protection so he wouldn't even hear something coming from behind him. I go, wouldn't that be a 2-man job?
I would have...
So I could see sending a disposable person, but not when it means it's something that also would cost you your group's life if it fails.
It's so crazy. It's so bad, yes. And like again, it's like, that seems like a mess. Are we nitpicking? I don't know, but it's just like it's so weird to have that happen. Like after the season premiere, I was like, this show might be good now. And now I'm like, it's not good. It's still doing its shit.
They framed it as such, where there's a lot of been deserters, there's missing fuel.
Yeah.
So you think that there's like those Negan supporters are doing something, right?
Yeah.
And based on how this guy's statement made and how he seems to be a dick, a rebel rouser, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah.
I was like, how did he not trigger the alarm? Oh, the walkie-talkie died. I didn't hear you call me to do it. You didn't hear the alarm going off? It's an air raid siren. Those are made to hear from like ever away. If you heard the faint inkling of that happening, hit yours too, bruh.
And you would have to hear one from the other because you're trying to redirect a herd.
Yes.
So if they were close enough, if they were not close enough to hear the one, right? You know, I don't know. I think it makes sense.
Well, you could
really
be
weird.
far enough away that only from like halfway the distance, but it doesn't make much sense.
It makes no sense.
You would think it would be this overwhelming sound to lead from one to the other.
I don't know. And like, it's like, hey man, why do you care so much about that? And I'm like, because when I watch these episodes, I'm just like, wait, what? Or like when something gets like revealed and you're like, wow, it's that guy? Why would it be that guy though? What? It's this like crazy thing.
If something you do takes me out of the episode, that's why I say these what things.
Yeah,
if things were
was
just
really
good
bad.
and like a stream of awesome, I wouldn't think about things twice. Like there's a lot of movies that have a lot of plot holes that you don't think about because they're good. But when things are bad, that's when the mind drifts and starts to think of shit.
So because I had this in my head, no, this happens before. Something else small that I think later bothered me.
What do you got?
So it's the morning. You know, you find out Carol and Zeke, they kind of like adopted young Henry, and it's really cute, and they're talking about the future and life and all that stuff, and he's like, if the kingdom didn't need me, I would stay right here by your side. And then he leaves, right? Then there's enough time for young Henry to go off and be the water boy, and for the riot to start, and for him to attack the guy, and for Daryl to fight the guy, and for all these things to happen, and then for you know, Rick to go off with Eugene and talk about gazpacho, and there's all this time that goes by, and then Zeke is at the log camp, and Carol, that day, it's right. No. It's like right. It's he stabs a zombie, and Carol has to say, I thought you left. And then he said, I heard there was trouble, or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, what is going on with this show? Because, like, it's one thing to just have him be there, and for me to go, like, oh, he must have been leaving the next day, and then in the morning he was like, I would stay to see the last nail driven myself, and that was nothing, right? But they knew something was up, because they had to have a fucking line between Carol and Zeke, where he had to say that he turned around? How far away is the kingdom? What time did he leave? That was the morning, and now it's like the afternoon.
You know, the group as a whole didn't turn around because the doctor still wasn't there, and he left with that group.
It makes sense. Well, he went to the hilltop, or where did he go?
Either way, I'm sure they all walked at the same time and then divert. There's only one bridge.
So any sign of trouble, even if you heard the sirens were designed to avoid the trouble. So that shouldn't have made him turn around. I sat there on the toilet for like a minute. Like, what is my life? What is going on with this show? This makes absolutely no sense. And I think, again, you're compressing, or you're like changing on the fly, or like, well, no, he has to be there that night for that to happen, because now that scene takes place later that night,
or things are filmed and edited into stupid orders.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like if that scene with Carol had happened the night before, then he could have left the next morning and not, right?
Yeah.
But that scene happens at the end of the day, right? And again, these are just wild speculatory theories, because I have to justify what I'm seeing. I have to have it make sense to me. Like, why am I being shown these things in this order? This makes no sense.
No, agreed. There's a lot of bullshit.
Had a lot of fun.
The whole business.
Where do we go from here?
So Maggie and her man in jail. We see, he built this jail, and then he's the first one to serve in it, and that's the whole thing. It's like, oh no. But if you look at that jail, you could easily get out of that jail. There's a good from one side it's probably like 16 inches. The other side it's like probably 24 inches of open top. Did you notice that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they used an old gate as the door.
Wrought iron.
It is a spiked gate, but.
Yeah.
If I'm in jail and want out of jail, that's not going to keep me.
It's just a metaphor. He's an old man.
I think the world is enough of a jail that people in jail are like, all right, it's still better to be here than outside the walls.
Because zombies can't get in this wall. No, so why? And like that's one of the other things. So like we are going in like descending order of how much they bothered me, right?
Okay.
But that's another thing. As like person who writes in my head, right? So like that scene opens up. I'm like, oh, they have a jail? That's weird. Why would they have a jail? First thing Maggie says, when I had you build these cells, I didn't think you'd want to be in this cell. I'm like, oh, okay, so like they know that it's weird that you have a jail or some shit, right? Was this for the other?
Well, I didn't take me as they thought it was weird they have a jail. I thought she was just stating the irony of you're going to be the first person in the jail you built.
That's the cover story, right? But we have a jail that we never established because the saviors were outside in like a pen. There wasn't a jail then, and it makes sense that you would build a jail after that. But they have to like call it out to make sure that the audience can put it all together. That like, oh, he built this jail because and whatever.
I assumed they would all. So Alexandria was the first one, and when they built a jail, it was a little strange because it was like, why is Morgan doing this? You don't need a jail. But he's kind of right. If you're going to have a civilized society, you do need a way to punish people, and that makes sense. And once one has it, and like you did have the original issues with the saviors, and you had to make that pen, and the pen proved to be a bad thing.
Right.
I was like, okay, a jail makes sense.
Having a jail is not a problem at all, right? But the line felt like it was patched in on purpose with a cover story to make sure that everybody was on board with the origin of the jail and what the jail and all that stupid thing is.
They only have one blacksmith. No one else could possibly build anything.
Exactly. So you could just have a jail and just know that it's been time and it could be fine. But
I wouldn't even have been surprised if they had old school like stockade kind of jail because like they were in a what is that called? Like a reenactment society? Wasn't that what their village is?
Hilltop? I don't know.
I thought that because like why else did they have it? They had a blacksmith. They had I thought that was like a colonial village that they made into their.
I think it was just I don't know, man.
I always took it as that
because they have like the big plantation house and all that stuff.
It just seemed like it was this is like a museum, like to where we would show kids how olden days used to live, and like
they might have said
like
stuff.
This is Fort Sumter, like some stupid bullshit.
No, I don't know how much of it developed after the fact or how much of it started.
Not entirely sure. That's just how I have been interpreting it.
They might have had some lines in there a long time ago about that. Michonne shows up, though. She's like, hey, sorry, no fuel, but we still want that food, right?
Well, we checked with Baba. They said they sent it out.
Well, and like it's not immediately clear, but apparently the people who were delivering it are also gone.
Yes.
Right? So like people
and the deserters are gone. They didn't actually desert.
They never got back to the sanctuary and all that stuff. So that's the thing that gets mentioned later. This episode has like 5 endings, like rapid fire towards the end.
Some bigger than others.
And one of them is the like Jersey savior, like the good guy with the accent, good savior dude. Prisoner guy basically calling Rick out as like, isn't that what Negan used to do or something? And I'm like, no, what?
Well, no, but he had a little bit of a point, but not.
Yes, but not like he had a little bit of a point as like a high school level point or something like that. But we've moved on now. The show's in college. The show has to think about stuff more deeply or whatever. Yes, but he like exposits all the situation about all the people and the missing and people are scared. I don't know all that stuff. Yeah, it's this whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole point of like the whole Maggie thing though, and like the guy gives a long speech about how he's a drunk and his wife visits him, and Maggie's slowly caving into these things, right? Because it shouldn't be personal.
I would have caved anyway, not even because of like I'd be like, no, he can sleep in the jail, but during the day he's got to work. Prisoners do work release. Why wouldn't he? Our whole society's going to crumble if we don't have a fucking plow.
It felt really weird.
He's going to do that.
It seemed like a very obvious thing. So I guess the point was that she was taking it personally and being emotional or something like that. Now she's getting beyond it. But it seemed like not like filler, but just like whatever. This didn't seem like it needed this much screen time for me.
It definitely was. Like it's a very simple like, do this, obviously. And it was drawn out to be part of the episode.
I have a pet peeve about that. If the performances and the writing aren't like knocking me off my socks, if at the end of the episode we only get as far as like, well, that thing from the beginning that I said, well, just do that, and now they're just going to do that, I always go like, fuck, But good parts here. I liked the shot where Michonne is, well, first of all, like Rick says, yeah, Michonne's on it, and then it cuts to Michonne. Like that's such an easy, simple, small thing, but I've come to like crave those things from these shows. Just fucking do the normal filmmaking thing. Just do it. And then similarly, like Michonne's up in the window and looks down and sees them arguing, Jesus and the blacksmith's wife Tammy, and then later on, the blacksmith's wife sits down to reveal Michonne's in the background.
Yeah.
Right? This nice little filmic, like, that's the transition of Michonne being there. It's like, ah, nice. A film thing. We're filming things now. Like the zombie fingers from episode 1. Oh, we're caring about the camera a little bit. It's nice.
A little.
Just a little. I would like a lot more, but I've been getting none. So I want something to happen.
So let's go over Crazy Lady's arc. So Crazy Lady's sitting down there with the Reverend, and they're talking about.
Oh, I'm like, who? How does it narrow it down?
They're talking about life, and she's drawing some stuff
and Gabriel
as a police sketch artist for him.
Yep.
And it seems as though a little something's going
There's
on
a thing
between
going
them. They got a
on.
little this, and he looks creepier than ever. So I'm like, good for you.
I need your help here.
Sure.
So,
No.
What?
Let me speak, and then I'm going to say no.
The answer is no. I just want to make sure. He's now half blind, but the infection somehow all went into the one eye, even though he was all blind and had both eyes get infected before.
Correct.
So what am I?
No, we've not seen this before.
What am I to take this to mean in my life?
That they could not have a
That
blind
they were like,
guy.
wait a minute, he can't really be blind. Let's just change it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was blind around the outsides of both eyes. Now
Yes.
it seems fine gone.
And at the end of the last season, he's like, "Thank you, God, Jesus, I can see," or something.
Yeah.
And did that maybe really mean that he was starting to get his vision back? I'm so upset.
Yeah.
I'm so upset, but let's move on. It's fine.
So they're like, a little hanky-panky might happen, or some hand-holding, some whatever.
Yeah.
And then we again are meeting up with them, and it's like, oh, I didn't take any vows. It said I couldn't.
He's like, "I'm not a Catholic." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Word." So real quick, I almost want to make a clip of this. She's like, "Who was that woman?" or whatever, right? And he goes, "She was the organist at my church."
Uh-huh.
And it cuts back to Anne, and she's making a face like, organist, huh? Or something like that. So I'm sure that wasn't intentional, but it was so funny. It was so dumb. I loved it so much.
Then they start to, while he's on watch, a little hanky-panky.
Wonderful. One of the best implied BJs or sexual encounters, whatever I've seen, certainly on this show.
You're expecting, though, because we already have this idea that something is afoot to happen while he's not paying attention.
Well, perhaps.
But no, it doesn't.
Yes.
Later on, as we continue with her, she's now on top of a cherry picker, and she's keeping watch. And you see a helicopter.
Yep. Did your world explode?
No, because we already saw a helicopter with her before.
No, but we saw a helicopter show up to what seemed to be a predetermined meeting that she fucked up with Negan's interference, and
Agreed.
Shit went left, and she missed the rendezvous or the drop off or the pickup or whatever you want to call it, right? Now she sees the helicopter above their camp that's built to build this bridge back, right?
Yep.
So now it's not in this place where no one else would see it but her for a specific reason tied to her. It's somewhere else where anyone could see it and hear it, but no one does.
Because she's higher than them. No one can... It's the middle of the night, so you are going to cut down how many people are awake. But certainly
Definitely.
more than one person is on guard.
And this implies that there's some connection between her and the helicopter, and it's following her. Like Jaws in Jaws 3, whatever it was. The helicopters were and she looks up uh-oh, there it is. I better, whatever, right? It's this weird vibe.
I don't know if I thought it was looking for her or following her or even related, but we do see it again, and we do have people missing and things are happening, and I wonder if they're related.
Yep.
Could that need the fuel they're producing because we have a helicopter that likes to drive?
Helicopters love to eat fuel. So if it's not related to her, it's even worse, because that means it could have been anywhere and has been other places, and no one has ever talked about seeing a helicopter or something like that. It's the apocalypse. If you saw a helicopter, Daryl would be like, "What?" and fucking drive his motor and chase the helicopter, right? You'd be like, "Where are they landing? What's their camp? Are they a threat? Are they an ally? Do they have supplies? What's going on? Oh my God!" It'd be this big deal.
Everything is a threat, and since you are missing people, a threat is certainly at your heels.
They're obviously, I hope, trying to set something up
I almost
here.
want it to be something not related to the helicopter.
Sure.
Because then you have two little pokers in the fire for something that could be entertaining for me.
Okay.
But this show knows how to let me down, so...
Yeah, no, this bothered me so much, and I don't know how I'm supposed to take it, and I guess I just have to let them show me what it is later, but it's still infuriating.
Potentially not even next episode.
I doubt it, yes.
Yeah. What other? We got another arc here, don't we? Who are we missing?
And sees a helicopter. Well, so the very, 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 very
Oh,
end,
yeah, might as well.
the fourth ending, the ending, as I called it. The Meathead's been banished.
Yeah.
So real quick, I like that with Rick, with the conversation. And it was really weird because he goes, I know you. I know people like you. I used to be a cop. And I'm like, he used to be a cop. That hasn't come up in like seasons and seasons and seasons, right? The one time in
I'm trying to think, what does he wear? Does he not still wear the uniform? I guess not.
He was like the sheriff of Alexandria,
Yeah.
right? And there's this great thing where he's bloody and he has his gun. He's like, how many of you do I have to kill to save you? And he's doing all that stuff. But that was even like a spike of like being a cop. He doesn't tell stories about being a cop. He doesn't relate the current situation to being a cop. He doesn't. It doesn't.
No one really relates anything to anything.
It doesn't seem to play into anything that he does. And this is the perfect example where he's like, I had so many dipshits like you in the back of my squad car telling me all these stories about how nothing was their own fault, and you're getting out of here. When I'm done with you, Stitches won't fix what I'm going to do with you. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And the guy's like, later, old man. He's like, no, you're going to stay here and listen to what I have to say. And I was like, yeah, Rick, this is great. I hope you leave the show this season, you bastard, right? It's awful.
Yeah, and that guy then says, oh, I'm not going to stay the night. I'm leaving right now. And on the road, he recognizes whoever gets him. And it could be something that's, a big woohoo and switches off on us, where maybe it's just some guy going, hey, we got some whiskey over here. Or, he's clubbed and dead and someone's eating him.
He gets, like, yanked out of the frame all weird, where I'm like, what even does that? What's happening, right?
Well, but again, it could be like a yank for a good time. It could be a yank, someone's coming, or it could be, anything.
It could be literally anything, but it was the weirdest thing of all the things I could have possibly have seen.
Yep.
And it's meant to, I think, not imply anything specific and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the issue. So yeah, that's how it ends.
That's the very, very ending. What do you think it is? Do you have any ideas? Or are you just...
I don't. I have a feeling that it's not the bad guy, but I don't know.
The bad guy. It's the governor.
Well, that would be very interesting.
It would, for several reasons.
Yes. No, I don't know. I would like it to be something good. I'd like a good bad guy, but I'm not sure who I even want. Do I want a rogue military operation? Like, who has a helicopter?
Oh, God.
Is it Bill Burr? I don't know.
I've been avoiding this entire thing in my head. Because I can't imagine. Ever since... Do you remember me having a breakdown and like, Stefan, if they don't explain why they were talking like cavemen, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then they never explain it, right? And I'm just like... And you were like, well, maybe they were all like mental patients somewhere, or maybe they were like you were trying to float things, and I'm like, no, Stefan, I need them to tell me. I need to actually know. And then when she stopped talking like a caveman for no reason, I just freaked out. And ever since then, everything with her tiny coffin apartment furnished by IKEA, to her like habits and her
helicopter
drawings,
associations,
and this like flare and the signal thing, and then her even with Gabriel. Well, I have my secrets and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like is this what it was like to watch Lost? Because I hate this. This is awful.
No, Lost was well written.
Was it?
Yes.
I mean, with all these weird secrets and hints and things that are coming up later and all that stuff?
There were hints and secrets, but not like... They never didn't pay off, except for maybe the last season.
Maybe this will pay off.
We'll see.
I doubt it can't.
Well, that's episode 2. Stay tuned.
I have more.
Oh, what do you got?
My favorite part of the episode that I also laughed my ass off, when Rick's breaking up the riot, he shows up, and it looks like beat for beat exactly Chris Pratt from Jurassic World. It was like, no, enough. I said, nope, he's doing this thing. It's like the exact same maneuver, and I literally laughed my ass off when it came on, onto the screen.
I just felt Daryl should have killed him. Daryl had a really badass moment when, like, right around the log fall thing, when he like pulls out 2 knives and starts swinging at things. I'm like, Daryl's gonna take on the whole apocalypse.
Yep, that was an awesome set piece. I like Daryl's business, what he's doing or whatever.
Yeah,
I like him being structured. I don't know if they've abandoned the thing where Maggie, Daryl, and Jesus are in a conspiracy against Rick, though. I don't really feel that happening anymore.
That's been abandoned.
I don't know what it is.
That was just something to get you to come back the next season.
It was the worst thing possible. The log fight in general, though, when they like released the logs and it like the zombies' heads and all that stuff, that was all right. They mentioned that book, that stupid book that the lady with the twins dropped
they
off.
show
that
they've got the bridge information from it.
They're still using the book, and Maggie's reading the letters from her, so that's going to keep being a thing. That's what I mean. Like that, I feel like that has no business on this show or a show like this or something like that. It's too out there. It's too crazy, right? It should just be the real world with zombies, though, not this other crazy stuff and helicopter conspiracy things and all that business.
Yeah.
I also have a confession.
What do you got?
So that's totally Maggie's baby. That's totally
so.
Maggie and Glenn's baby. I know. But what happened was, I Googled, did Maggie give birth in between seasons? And there's a bunch of articles, because this has been a recurring problem with Maggie's pregnancy, because she's been pregnant for so long. So there are like articles for previous seasons of the show where people have previously been like, don't panic, there was no big time skip, that's not Maggie's baby or whatever the hell, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's totally Maggie's baby. In the beginning of this episode, Rick says, day 35. And I'm like, wait, but I already Googled it again and found out that it's not Maggie's baby. And then I'm like, okay, this is day 35 of, like, building the bridge, I guess. Something like that.
Or the new society.
So otherwise it makes no sense. So I'm all calmed back down now, and I vow to never do any show prep or Google anything ever again. So
thank God.
We don't get ourselves in that. If you recall, I was like, don't worry, I Googled something so we don't embarrass ourselves. And then I said it's not her baby. So that's over with. We're not doing that anymore. That's all I got.
All right. That's our conclusion of the talk on episode 2. Let's see what episode 3 brings us. Maybe some closure or something. I assume they really do have to start wrapping certain things up if they're truly planning on an end or not.
Have we heard more about it? This is really the last season?
Nothing concrete.
I don't think it's the last season.
I would wager it shouldn't be. I don't think just losing Andrew Lincoln is enough reason to kill the show. And I don't need Daryl to become the new Rick. I just need the show to get better.
People were on Twitter saying like Aaron's comic book Rick or something like that because he grew the facial hair and he's missing the same arm and all that stuff. I think that's pretty funny. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's decent.
They're like, don't worry,
parallels.
We're gonna make it like this happened to Rick all along, and Rick's leaving. And there's a new guy now. It's a new like strong male figure, whatever.
That could be interesting.
It's good times.
All right, guys. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.